I want to ask you about vape shops. I see them pop up everywhere. We talked about California, but I see them honestly all over the country. If anybody who is watching this that knows a teenage child is aware of the epidemic of vaping in our country, and I have to imagine that it's not good for kids. Is there anything that you guys can do on the FDA front to fight this prevalent epidemic of vaping with young kids?
This is another mess that we walked into. During the Biden administration, there was a mass proliferation of vape and smoke shops and gas stations selling illegal Chinese vaping products. These are products where we know there's distribution channels, we know where they're coming in through the ports. And we walked into this realizing, hey, what's going on here? These vape shops are popping up in every corner in America like mushrooms, and no one really understands them or talks about them. Or in the medical community, they don't even talk about what's in these vape shops. Turns out 85% of the vape products are illegal Chinese vape products. Some of them are designed to make kids addicted with little video games or music players that are Bluetooth enabled as part of the vaping device to try to get kids to get on these products, stay on the products, and keep buying them.
And their ads are all over TikTok for vaping products.
It's everywhere. And just remember, there is no fruity flavored vape product that is legal in the United States. That's most of what's in these stores. There is no gummy product enhanced with 7-OH, which is an opioid, that is legal in the United States. And so you have all of these illegal products sold on every corner in America, in every neighborhood, and no one talked about it. No one understood it. And so we walked into a mess. And I quickly did some research. We were just in Chicago announcing the largest raid to date of illegal Chinese vaping products. I was doing some research on that greater Chicago area. They have 100 Starbucks in that area and 1,200 vape shops and smoke shops and other retailers selling these illegal vaping products. They're everywhere. They're dominating our society. They're around military bases. They're around college campuses and high schools. And one of the reasons why we were asleep at the wheel as a medical establishment is that the CDC put out a shoddy study that said that only 5% of young people are using vaping products. And they'll claim that that's the lowest level in a decade. What they don't tell you is the study survey was methodologically flawed. And you talk to any high school in America and they will tell you 30%, 40%, 50% of the kids in that school are regularly using these products. They're addictive. Kids go down the addictive pathway of lying, cheating, stealing, even from their own family and loved ones, of living a dual life. And there are tragic stories of kids that have gone to the hospital because of what's in these things. By the way, a third of them or more may have marijuana, which we know can lead to long-term psychoses and other mental health problems.
Especially when smoked during teenage years.
Especially, that's the key, because people think marijuana today is the marijuana of hippies. It's not. It's 10 to 20 times more potent. Many of it is much of the marijuana in the United States comes from marijuana farms, and these marijuana farms are sometimes owned by Chinese and even Mexican cartels operating those farms in the United States. So just because it's marijuana doesn't mean that it's not from a cartel. And what else is in those vaping devices? Formaldehyde sometimes, heavy metals like lead. So we have stories now of high schools that say once a month, a kid goes to the hospital, sometimes in an ambulance, because of popcorn lung. We hear stories of individuals that have quit their lives, that have gone down a very dark road because they have to steal in order to get these vaping devices. We hear kids that are not attending class because they're in the boys' bathroom where they keep the vaping pens in the tiles in the ceiling because it's off the radar of the school. This is an epidemic in the United States, and nobody was paying attention to it until President Trump came into office. We are working with the Department of Justice and Attorney General Pam Bondi, Secretary Kennedy, and we are going all out We're addressing the distribution networks. We're stopping port shopping, which is when these illegal products show up at the ports. The FDA inspectors would, under the Biden administration, they would look at them and say, oh, this is illegal, and put it back on the ship it came in on. And then the ship would go to another port. It's
and just
called
try
port
again
shopping.
with no consequence?
And yeah, that no consequences, and 100% of it came in. They were laughing at us. And so we're shutting down port shopping. We're addressing the distribution networks. There are raids that are being done on the retailers, and we're trying to educate young people about what's in these shops, and parents and houses of worship and school boards. Everybody needs to know this is an epidemic that has been in part a silent epidemic, but it's starting to destroy lives. And it's not just the vape products, it's opioids. You can walk into these vape shops and literally buy an opioid. It's called concentrated 7-OH or hydroxy or hydroxymetragenine. It goes by several names. We call it collectively 7-OH or hydroxy. It is 13 times more potent than morphine, and you can walk into one of these vape shops in America and buy it like a cup of coffee. We have got to wake up.
I'd imagine that anybody watching this would say, well, it's probably better to smoke a vape than a cigarette because cigarettes will cause lung cancer, and there's studies behind cigarettes and lung cancer. Are there serious studies that doctors are taking seriously about the dangers of whatever content there is inside the vape? Because I haven't heard about those. I've always heard, well, it's probably better than the alternative, or it's not that bad, or I'm buying it from a reputable source. I mean, I see people walking around with vapes all over the place.
I talk to doctors about what's in the vape stores, and they say, I don't know. I ask them, what % of high school kids are vaping? They say, I don't know. Talk to a high schooler, they'll tell you 20 to 50%. I ask the doctors, what % of the vape products have THC? They say, I don't know. It may be a third or more. I ask them, what are the other ingredients in these vape products? They say, I don't know. So it is true that if you are using an FDA-approved vape product, which is designed to transition people from combustible cigarettes to another form of nicotine delivery, where you're getting nicotine delivered in a way where we know what the chemicals are in that product, that it is less dangerous than combustible cigarettes. That is true. But what we are seeing is an epidemic of young kids vaping from scratch, not transitioning from cigarettes. And they're vaping with illegal products where we have no idea what those chemicals are. And when somebody comes into the hospital, we have no idea what's causing the lung damage.
And anybody could just open a vape shop and start selling illegal drugs to children?
They're popping up everywhere, yes. And there are drugs in there. The 7-hydroxy, you'll hear called a lot of different names. The real name for it is an opioid. It is an opioid, just like other opioids. And we don't want the fourth wave of the U.S. opioid epidemic to start right in front of our eyes. Every other wave of the opioid epidemic, we got caught blindsided. And so we want to be proactive and educate families, because ultimately we can do all the law enforcement in the world. But it's really the relationship between an individual and their loved ones that creates the mindset that there's potential harm here and that you don't want to risk going down the dark road of addiction. We all metabolically want to get fixated and addicted to something, and that's the body's natural tendency. But you want to be addicted to good things, healthy relationships, working out, hard work. And people, unfortunately, are going down this road, not because they're bad people, but because they were not aware of the incredible power that these substances have to suck them in.